Hello and welcome back with me, Admiral. Joining me back on Star Trek Fleet Command. So as I promised the other day, today's video is going to be about the morale crew. I just want to say before we do start, obviously, if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button because it does help the channel out massively. And if you haven't done already, then head over to Twitch and hit the follow button on Twitch as well. Thanks to all the new followers, we've now hit 50 over there, and we're up to 230 subscribers on YouTube, which is absolutely insane. For the time that we've been doing the game for. But so thank you to everyone for the support, and keep it up, and I will endeavour to keep this up as well. So today's crew is going to be the morale setup. For all you new guys out there, the morale setup is essentially the Enterprise crew. That's what you're basically looking at. So I've got it set up here. This is on my Centurion. So what you want to do is you want to get Kirk. These are all obviously the epic and the rares. So this is the standard sort of morale crew that you want. And I'll explain a couple of the stats in a minute. But basically, you want Kirk as your captain. You want Bones as the reason you want Kirk as captain because his leader ability is as long as the ship has morale, Kirk gives all officers on the ship a bonus of 70%, which is really, really good. And then his secondary ability is the actual morale part of it, and then you've got the Bones' ability, which increases the defense of all the officers on the bridge by 20%, which is really relevant when you have a look at Spock's ability, because when you look at Spock's ability, so while the ship has morale, Spock restores shield health to an amount equal to the percentage will change depending on how strong your Spock is, of the defense of the officers on the ship. So if you can get your defense as high as physically possible, then that'll make his ability be even better overall. As you can see, we currently sat at 300%, and health we got 270. When it comes to explorers, I try my best to. They're the two stats that I want to max out as much as possible when it comes to explorers. The reason for that is because their weapons. The weaponry on Explorers, generally speaking, is not very good. It's okay overall, but it's generally speaking the worst out of the three. So going for attack is probably not necessarily worth doing. But if you can, for example, get the defense pop with Spock, for example, with shield generation, and if you can obviously have as much health as possible, then it just means that you're going to last longer in battles. Therefore, the minimal damage that you are doing with your weapons obviously has a bigger effect overall. Obviously, the bottom three characters, they can vary. They can obviously change depending on what characters you have. But basically, you want to try and max out both your defense and your health abilities when you are running them on the ship. Again, mainly defense is mainly for Spock, and then health just so you can last longer in battles or going against PvE or whatever it is you're doing. So morale itself, which I forgot to mention in the Hull Breach episode, but with using Gorkon. So when you obviously activate Hull Breach, that has a certain special effect. So I think I'm right in saying when Hull Breach, for example, activates, that gives you a 70% bonus, I believe, to your 75% crit down. What was it? 75% bonus. So if you have a Hull Breach and you obviously hit a crit, then it gives you a boost of 75%. As long as obviously you've got Hull Breach. As far as I'm aware, I might be mistaken, but as far as I'm aware, I think when you pop morale, that gives you a shield piercing bonus. So again, that's why morale is such a good crew to get. Also, when it comes to morale, that's sort of the baseline crew that you want. If you can get the morale crew, then they're useful for absolutely everything. So they're useful for PvE, they're useful for armadas, they're useful somewhat they're useful for PvP as well, depending on obviously what type of ship the player is running and stuff like that basically. But this is like the basic crew that you want. Out of all the free crews that you want, or the free generic crews, i.e. the Gorkon setup, the Nero setup, or the obviously the Kirk setup, this is probably the best one to get. Just because it's so versatile and you can use it pretty much for absolutely anything. In terms of the ship, obviously, it doesn't necessarily need to be on a Centurion, but I would advise to put it on some form of Explorer just because they work well together in the way that it works. But you can put them on any ship type as well. It's not. Don't be thinking you're restrained just to put them on Explorers just because I advise that or something. You can put them on any ship. It really doesn't matter. But obviously, certain ships and certain types of ships have certain different sort of needs and abilities, which is why the other day, for example, said Gorkon would do better on an Interceptor, just because of the kinetic ability that an Interceptor has. Whereas the Morale crew doesn't have that type of ability, but it works well with Explorers, so I would advise keeping them on Explorers if possible. But overall, that's about it for the Morale crew. You can swap and change a few officers, not too many though. So for example, to have a different type of Morale crew, you can put a Horror on instead of Bones, if you want a bit of extra attack, stuff like that. The only thing with Bones is you won't get that ability, or the secondary ability, which is obviously the 20% to defense on the bridge, which obviously directly impacts Spock's ability as well. Also, you can also get, if I just go out, a sort of another Morale crew you can use. Is still use obviously Spock and Kirk, but another one, if you do have him, is, if I can find him, I think is Zao. So if you run Zao, his ability also works on Morale. So as long as the ship has Morale, Zao increases the shield, deflection, armor, dodge of the ship by 30%. This is a crew that a lot of higher level players use, especially going against, I think it's Jellyfish, when people are running Enterprises. I'm pretty sure they use this against like Jellyfishes and stuff. So they'll use Kirk, Kirk and Spock to pop the Morale, and they'll use this as their captain ability. Increases the defense of all the officers on the bridge by 15%, again helping the Spock ability out, and then his ability with the Morale pop. The good thing about Kirk, so that's another good crew to use if you obviously don't have, or you have him unlocked. But the good thing about Kirk is his ability for the Morale is actually his officer ability and not his captain's ability. So just bear that in mind. So you can put basically Kirk in any slot and it'll do the same thing in terms of the Morale pop. So if you wanted, you're never going to run this, but if you wanted that, so to get the accuracy, 15% accuracy of each combat round, for example, or you could run Bones as an I'm a Doctor, which McCoy gives a bonus of 20% to all the officers' abilities of the officers on the bridge during combat. To be honest, this is actually not a bad one to run as well, but you got to remember this is only during combat, so just bear that in mind, because the officer's ability is this ability. So remember that's the officer's ability. So you can run Bones, I guess. I don't see it being too much of an issue. The only thing with running Bones, you get, like I say, you get the 20%, which is just going to bump that up to 80% overall, which just makes it last a little bit longer, or pop a little bit easier, should I say. But the leader one seems to be the best one to sort of run, I would say, because once you pop the Morale, then getting that 70% bonus to the stats is really, really helpful. So yeah, that's the Morale crew. Hope everyone sort of understands that, and hope this has helped a lot of people out. If you are old to the game, then please try and not comment saying this is an obvious thing, because not to everyone. This is not an obvious thing to everyone. There is still new players coming into the game that don't know this type of stuff. So if you are a veteran player, then obviously you probably are going to know all of this and know all the stats and what to do. But you got to remember that just because you're a veteran doesn't necessarily mean there's not new players in the game. So just bear that in mind when you are writing your comments down below. Just because a lot of people recently have been saying, oh, this is obvious, blah, blah, blah. I get that it's obvious for you types of players, but for new players, then you got to respect the fact that they might not know this. because they're, again, new to the game. So any little bit of information that they can get for all the different types of crews is obviously helpful, and you can actually help them out in the comments down below. But that's it for me anyway. So if you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you dislike it, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to leave your comments and your thoughts down below. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.